How's the sound look, Antonio? If you're on YouTube and you can't hear me even though my mouth is moving, text so that we can fix it. All right. So my name is Michael Taft, and this is Deconstructing Yourself. We're going to meditate. It's good? Awesome. Oh, there he is, yeah.
I was going to turn it.
Turn it off.
So I'm not a pro at that.
We're going to sit for an hour, and during that hour I will guide the meditation. But as always, feel free to not listen. Just do your own meditation. That's completely fine. A lot of heavy-duty meditators in here, and so just even sitting in the room is probably fun and helpful. We only ask that you remain real still, and if you move at all, you move really quietly and slowly. Like sometimes people just decide to change their Velcro zipper thingy, and it's like, you're in a room full of people who are really wide open and very still, so be super quiet if you can. And the other thing is, just still and quiet. That's it. Not too many rules. So without further ado, we'll start meditating. At the end of the meditation, I will blab for a while, then we'll walk the microphone around to see if anyone wants to blab at me and see how I respond. And then after that, we'll do a little kicker, a bumper, a little short meditation there at the very, very end. Okay? All right. So let's begin with just some movement together, starting out doing inhale up. Stretching. You can breathe, you don't have to hold your breath. Whenever we're doing movement, make it work for you. How your body works is not how my body works. Could be really different. So just do what works for you. And then come over this way, opening your side ribs and really breathing into that. And then coming this way, opening those ribs, breathing into that. Okay, and then all the way forward. This one's really nice because the whole back of your pelvis can get a stretch. If you're on the chair, just go straight down if you can. And then if you want to, you can kind of go side to side just a little bit to get one side stretched, the other side stretched. Just be really gentle and make it work for your body. Then we do the twist. So keeping your body nice and straight, we just twist all the way one way. It's a little harder to breathe like this. And then twist all the way the other way. And then coming back to center, just kind of. Now we're going to do the freak out. So just freak out. Do whatever you want. You don't have to do it like I do it, but just move, however your body needs to move right now. You can make your face do stuff, doesn't matter. And then, as usual, kind of do spine circles, one way, spine circles the other way, and then I want you to make the circles smaller and smaller until you can't tell whether you're doing circles or not. Maybe you're absolutely still. And that's the perfect spot. It's not that you got stock still, it's that you kind of can't tell if you're moving or not. And that's the perfect spot where your body's all balanced. Feels just right. And then just tune into the spaciousness. I recommend doing this by just dropping out of any idea of thinking anything at all. The thought machinery can happen, but you're just totally outside of that in simple presence. And when you come into simple presence outside of thought, it's real spacious. You're not kind of like staring at the screen inside your mind. You're open, present, simple. Now, next we do some sound stuff. So remain open, remain outside your mind. Just feel the energy or the quality of the sound we're going to chant together. Please, unless you're incapable of it, join in. We're just going to do a single syllable. Usually we do something like Om Mani Padme Hum, or if we're doing syllables, we'll sometimes do Hum or whatever. Tonight, just for whatever reason, we'll do Ram. Okay, so R-A-M, but with a long A, Ram, Ram. And I'll be going at a certain pitch, but your voice might feel good at a different pitch, so do a different pitch. Everyone's welcome to have their own pitch. That's fine. And we all breathe in at different points, right? So it'll just be a continuous field of ramming happening. Okay, we'll do it for a while. So just, again, let go of thought and just settle into the energy of the sound. Staying outside the mind. seed syllable for a moment. Good. Then, if you know how to do Anulom Vilom, alternate nostril breathing, go ahead and begin doing that. We'll do about 3 minutes, but if you don't know how to do it, make your hand like this. And then you're going to close your right nostril with your right thumb. Breathe in through your left nostril. Then close your left nostril with these two fingers. Breathe out the right nostril. Breathe in the right nostril. Close that one. Breathe out the left. That's one round. Now while we're doing this, we were just using Ram as a mantra, so concentrate on your third eye center, saying the word Ram while you breathe in and breathe out. Want to sit up nice and straight if you're doing this. And just notice that this is balancing, tonifying, soothing, but it's soothing in a way that keeps you wide awake. It's not putting you to sleep. Now we started on a left nostril in-breath, so when you come back around to a left nostril out-breath, then you're done. But you want to make sure you end on the same nostril so that it's balanced. And then from there, just settle in. Again, just allow yourself to be outside the mind entirely. We're not fighting the mind. It doesn't really matter how much thinking is happening. Just that's over there somewhere. You're not really paying attention to it. Instead, you're resting as wide open, wide awakeness. Simply present. When we're simply present outside the mind, we're wide open, wide awake. And each time you get caught back up in the mind, just gently come back to being wide open and wide awake. It's like we're resting like the sky. We're just metaphorically meditating like the sky. Totally clear, totally open, totally simple. Uninvolved with thinking. If you spent all day super involved in thinking, then it might take a little while for that to set, allow you to be allowed to set down. But it will. And then we're just simply present and wide open, sky-like awakeness. And while we're resting there, if you want something to kind of stabilize on a little bit, just in a very loose, gentle, open way, just notice the breath wave rising and falling. You don't have to focus on it or make it a big object. It's just in the space of the sky, the breath wave is rising and falling. And let's just sit with that for a while. In the space of the sky like mine, the breath wave is rising and falling, and we're remaining uninvolved with thinking. I'll just say it one more time. We're not fighting the thinking. We're not trying to make it stop. We're just uninvolved. Resting in simple awake presence, like the sky, uninvolved with thought, noticing the breath wave coming and going. If you want to go a little deeper with this, you can look into what's aware of the breath wave right now. It's not a quiz question, it's nothing to figure out using the mind. You just look, what's aware of the breath wave? Good. Now remaining in the sky-like awareness, outside of thought. Just have your eyes be open a little bit. They don't have to be wide open, they can just be kind of cracked open. And don't focus on anything in particular, just leave them just wide open. And just allow the periphery of vision to be as important as the center of vision, so that all the vision is coming in kind of equally. And then just let go entirely of the notion that outside and inside are different at all. Notice how this whole field of vision is inside awareness, and the whole field of body sensation is inside awareness. And so outside and inside are both inside awareness. To put it another way, there's no separation between outside and inside at all. Just notice that directly now. Not as an idea, just by looking. There's just the sky. There's no inside the sky or outside the sky. There's just sky-like awareness. If you want to, you can close your eyes again, or you can leave them open, doesn't matter, but just maintain that sense of just no boundary at all. It's just the boundless sky. Wide open, wide awake, outside the mind. If you're sleepy, sit up straight, open your eyes. If you're in a chair, make sure your back is not supported by the chair, so you're keeping yourself upright. That'll wake you up. Good. Now notice that the sky-like awareness outside of thinking has no boundary at all. It's not an idea of whether there's a boundary or not. It's just when awareness is aware, you can't find any boundary to it. We just have ideas about boundaries, and if we're outside of the mind, those ideas are not there. The sky is limitless, boundless, wide open. Together with this boundlessness, it has no center. You can't find any center to awareness. Either that or everywhere is the center. Just notice that directly in your own experience. It's boundless and centerless, and there's no inside or outside. What's aware of this experience right now? Look directly. Don't try to go to the mind to figure it out. Just look in your experience. What's aware? Good. Now in this wide open, wide awake, boundless, centerless openness, just notice the tremendous stillness there. Thoughts are moving, emotions are moving, the body is moving, the world is moving, but this awakeness is still, unmoving. Be the stillness. continue with this. Just resting as the stillness underneath everything. Wide open, boundless, centerless, timeless. Or if you want to have a little meditative adventure, then I'll guide you in that. So you can either stay here or do the next part. The next part, either feel it or you visualize it, or both, but it's okay if you can't visualize, you just feel it. Imagine into this sky of the mind, the boundless sky of the mind. Comes a shining sun of perfect enlightenment. Sky as a radiant sun of total awakeness, total liberation, total love, shining in it. You can either feel that or see it or both. The original word is bhavayet, which means have the mood of it, but it can mean see it or feel it. But this is a soul, a star, a sun of utter enlightenment, utter shining, love, kindness, wisdom, vitality. So far beyond anything, it has no judgment, no feeling of anything at all for the individual except love and kindness and clarity. See that shining bright, bright, bright in the mind's eye, or feel it shining bright as a mood. And recognize that even though it feels like something outside of ourselves, we're deeply, deeply connected to it. And feel that connection coming forth into the belly, below your navel. Feel a beam of light or a beam of connection coming in to the lower dantian. Shining golden light. This is a light of vitality, health, energy, aliveness. And feel it filling the lower dantian, below your navel, the center below the navel, and then spreading out through the entire body and even outside the body, so that this brilliant golden light fills the whole body with energy, healing, vitality, liveliness, groundedness, balance. And just keep taking that in, taking that in. You can't overdo it, there's no limit. filling the body with so much energy that it feels less like a meat sack and more like a shining, golden light body. Absolutely pure, clean, bright, very alive, vivacious, healthy, balanced. Feel the energy of that pouring into the body and then through, out, all parts of the body, and then shining, radiating out in all directions with tremendous energy. You don't have to push it, it's not you doing it. It's doing itself. And not only are you radiating it out in all directions, radiating it out in all directions, but you're receiving it from all directions. No inside, no outside, no boundaries at all. Primordially awake. Good. Now from this shining star, the bright sun before you, another beam of light lances out into the heart center. Filling your heart center with tremendous love, joy, kindness, peace, exuberance, and belonging, and courage. And just feel that being pouring forth from this being of total enlightenment into your heart, and then from there out into the entire body, filling the whole body with love, joy, kindness, caring, and so on. And then from there it just starts to pour out. It just pours forth and radiates out in all directions. Again, it's coming into you and then filling the body and then radiating out. You're not doing it. It's just happening. And you even feel that you're receiving it from all directions. Tremendous love. Tremendous courage. Fearlessness. Feel that filling the entire sky, the entire vast, boundless, timeless space of awakeness. Good. Now that you're grounded and open-hearted, from the sun in front, the shining, brilliant sun of awakening in front, a third light beams out into your forehead, bringing transcendental wisdom. Clearing out all obscurations, removing all attachment to thought, opening up the mind entirely to just wide awake, wide open clarity and wisdom. And it fills the mind with that light, and then it radiates out to the heart and the whole body, filling the body with prajna, deepest wisdom. And from there it spills forth, radiating out in all directions. You're not doing it, you don't have to push it, it's just happening. And notice that even if your regular mind and body just feel kind of human, this sky-like mind of awareness is filled with this energy, filled with this love, filled with this wisdom, radiating, shining brightly in all directions. And you're receiving it from all directions too. That's how you know it's working. So the thing is, this timeless, boundless, wide awakeness is our true nature. And the rest of this, all this stuff, like the feeling of having a body, comes out of that. It's the expression of that. Feeling of a mind that's having an experience is the creative expression of that. This world that we see and all the beings in it, creative expression of this awakeness. We always think of it as the other way around, that the world gives rise to our bodies, and the bodies give rise to our mind, and the mind gives rise to this awakeness, but that's just inside out. The awakeness is bottomless, it's timeless, it's limitless, boundless. But what it loves to do is create, and it creates all this out of pure exuberance. And so this is not somehow separate or less than or like the fallen world and it's the perfect enlightened thing out there. They're not any different. Or even if they're different, they're not separate at all. One is the expression of the other, and one is the mother of that. They're always together. But we've sort of cast ourselves out into the expression part, into the appearance, into the painting, and forget that we're the painter. We're both the painting and the painter, right? And so it's important to, it's not even a meditation technique, it's not even any kind of technique at all. Just remember over and over that boundless awakeness that you are, and that all this, it's all just an expression of that. So it's not a thing you're thinking all the time or something you're imagining, like, oh, a picture. It's just coming from that, coming from being the awakeness as much as possible. And over time, it becomes more and more possible, more and more of the time, more and more deeply, because that's your true nature. But sometimes it seems like that means, oh, the world is like some kind of meaningless dream or something, but nothing could be further from the truth. It's the exuberant expression of this deep awakeness, and it is not separate from it. Every single appearance is part of that awakeness, and therefore sacred. Not fallen, not separate, not somehow dumb matter, but primordially pure awakeness itself. Sanctified through creative expression. So, Eric's got a microphone, and if you raise your hand, he'll bring it around to you. You have the opportunity to talk about your experience or ask questions or whatever. And just remember that it's going out live to the internet. At least I think so. I think we're still on. And also that, everyone just had an experience. Some people are very wide open, so let's be mindful of our speech. Okay? So raise your hand if you have something you'd like to share.
So I think this comes as more of like an internal, this is more like a therapeutic exploration, I guess. But I've found that like in my early 20s, most of my 20s, when I would sit, or even in psychedelic experiences, it was like exploring the territory or non-territory of where you were guiding us. It was like this word that's hard to put into words, and now I'm just doing all this processing. Like it feels like it's like, and I don't know if that's just like getting older, but it's like I want to go back to just experience, and then I'm instead having all these insights, and like that's great and I'm helpful for my life.
Sure.
That's pretty much, yeah.
But the insights are just happening, right? You don't have to follow them or try to make them happen. And so it's, if they're just arising and you're inciting, right? Great, let that happen. But you don't have to particularly get into it either. You can stay in the openness, stay in the experience, and the insight will still keep happening and it won't be lost. It's not an idea to get anyway, even as an insight. It's something that is, if it's a real insight, it's immediately healing, and then you can forget it, right? It does its thing. So it doesn't sound like, you've lost the innocence of childhood and now you're, it's like, no, the insights are arising, let them arise, and that's fine. We're not against the mind, right? It's just, we just don't want to be caught. And so even if they're fascinating, even if it's like, oh, now I get it and I'd like to think about that, just get it. And then just let it keep going. There'll be more insights that way anyway, because you're not going down the rabbit hole of each one, right? It's just like, does that make sense?
Totally. It's just then working with the seduction of the insight.
That's right. Just let it insight. Yeah. What else?
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody who's here.
Thanks, Peter,
Thanks, everyone online.
if they're even there.
So I wanted to share an experience and I had a question. The experience was really cool with the sun blasting into the 3 centers that you identified, and when it started pervading everywhere and going in all directions, the centers completely collapsed where it was almost like light just shining at itself, which was a very cool experience. I mean, it's I'm calling it an experience, but
Sure.
yeah. So that was really, really cool, and I enjoyed it. Or it was enjoyed.
You can just talk.
Yeah, I know. It's more like I'm stumbling on my own. You know what I mean? All right. Anyways, the question though is like that while seated feels embodied. You know, the I'm embodied. I mean, it's like impossible to say it's not in the body, so to speak. And but when I'm meditating, I was meditating outside, and a bee flew by, and I was like, oh. I was scared I was gonna get stung by a bee.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, well, so if I'm infinite light and I'm afraid of being stung by a bee, I think I'm missing something. So I was wondering if you could talk about, you know, how can I overcome my fear of being stung by a bee?
I mean, maybe it's a good fear to have. You know, we're not trying to overcome stuff like that. It's just notice that too is a radiant expression of wide awakeness. It's not like the fear is somehow not that. You know, maybe you know, skillful aliveness in the world requires stuff like that.
That's interesting. Because some traditions talk about like dissolving all the samskaras, just dissolve it all, dissolve all of the conditioning, and you're not making a case for that.
Not in that way. I mean,
Okay.
because really, if you really did that, you'd walk off cliffs and drink poison and stab yourself while making a sandwich and stuff. So, this is not brain damage.
Right.
Right? Like, the intelligence remains intelligent. You know?
Right. So in a way, it's intelligent to be afraid of bees.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for you, maybe, right? Like,
Got it.
but we can spread that out to anything. It's intelligent to not walk in front of moving vehicles, stuff like that. So we're not trying to get rid of that.
Okay, there is a theme in here though of the embodiedness, which is, I guess, like bringing the embodiedness off of the seat. I mean, I think I've conflated these two, but the question I guess remains of like, how do you embody this? How do you get it in the body, so to speak?
Which it.
Ah. Fuck. Yeah.
I'm not saying that as a koan.
No,
like, I just
I
mean,
know.
which it? What are you
Oh,
talking
I take it as a Cohen. Like, that's mind blowing, dude.
about? I could do that all day. That's really easy too.
Which I guess, okay, maybe I should actually respond with what made the question is fucked, is basically what,
Okay.
what
All
your
right.
response made me realize. Like, which it is, it's like, how do I get it in the body, Michael? And you're like, I was just talking about how the body's in it, right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, great. Cool, man.
Everything's okay.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Maybe we should just start with that next time.
Yeah.
That's what I got for this video.
I'd like to share an experience that I had. When you were just talking about how awareness is boundless, I was trying to check how boundless it is, and and I realized, like, on the visual field, like in my sensorium, like for some reason there is an edge of it, but like it doesn't feel like. And then I was just like, wait, but what happens if I try and look past the edge of it? And I started like tracing these radial lines from the center of my vision out, like not moving my eyes, but just looking. And I managed to see the spot in the visual field that there's no light there, and it was like intensely relaxing.
Yeah. But you don't even have to work that hard. That works. But you don't have to work that hard. It is cool.
Yeah.
Can you notice the blackness of the rest of your visual field right now, like behind you and stuff? Like the thing is, the awareness is the awareness. The sense gates are their own thing, and they're more limited. But the awareness doesn't have those limits. It's just we tend to conflate it. So sight is not awareness. Awareness is aware of sight. So awareness is boundless, even if you're not seeing what's happening on the far side of, Jupiter right now.
Mm.
Awareness is
What
boundless.
are the dimensions? Is it 2D or 3D?
I banish your question. No, whatever, dude.
Alright, next guy.
Yeah. Moving right along. No, keep exploring. It's good.
Hi. I had a really uncomfortable sit this time, and it was based on the fact that I have this chronic pain that kind of comes and goes.
What kind of pain?
It's like a pain in my scapula area, and, you know, I had all sorts of theories as to why it is, but like, it came on really strong when I was sitting, and it was so distracting. And the more I tried to think of it as just part of the awareness, the louder it got.
Yeah.
And then once we kind of came out of it, you know, the meditation was over, the sit was over, the pain went away.
Right.
I just want to know what's going on.
Sure. I mean, it would be a long Q&A to really figure it out, but do you have an actual physical injury, or do you think something else is going on there?
Posture, misalignment, kind of the usual stuff.
Okay. Then, it may just be the way you're holding yourself when you were sitting tonight, like started to amp it up, and then the minute you weren't meditating, it freed it. But really often, what's happening is when you get real tuned in with the awakeness, stuff that really wants you to pay attention to, it's going to get really bright. And so, in the long run, the only thing to do is give it your full attention for a while. Okay, I'm paying attention to you, and you just keep doing it, and eventually it's paid attention to enough, and then you can move on. If it's that kind of thing, it needs to be seen, and seen really deeply. It might take a while, but usually in a sit, giving something your full attention like that will either allow it to relax again, or will become its own. Now you're in a meditation on that, and that can be helpful also.
Okay.
Okay?
I have kind of a follow-up question to that, because I've had themes that are kind of meditation specific that have arisen before, and I was reading Ken McLeod's When Energy Runs Wild article, and he talks about how in the kind of classic Vipassana thing to do might be inspect the phenomenon of that pain and like take it apart, but that can have the side effect of drawing a bunch of energy to the place and like making it worse. So like how do you like tell whether you want to broaden out or whether you want to pay a bunch of attention to the something,
Great question, because notice I wasn't saying get all narrow, right? So in the way we're working, you almost always stay real wide open. Now you're paying attention to it, but you're not only paying attention to only it. Whereas in Vipassana, you kind of zero in like that, you can get real tight, and that does cause that kind of issue. When you stay real wide open while paying attention to it, it won't do that same thing. It might get a little more energized, but it's not going to start becoming like an energy conduit like it can when you really narrow down.
Thanks, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Any last one back there?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm curious for people who do like touch or healing work from a meditative stance, what you would advise for, sometimes you feel like you hear of the massage therapist who massages and then they have left hip pain after helping someone with left hip pain. And then there's other healers who just have no issues at all. I'm curious what your stance is on that.
I don't know if I have a stance. That's too definite. But what I would say is, if you are having energy effects, then you need energy help. And the energy help usually for stuff like that is, protection, essentially. And furthermore, not doing whatever you're doing. Even tonight I was saying, you're not doing it, it's doing itself. That's really important. So any energy work that's happening, it's coming through, but you're not doing it. So that's going to keep it from coming back on you, essentially. Okay, it's really, really important to get good at again, if you're not doing energy stuff and you don't experience energy effects, don't even listen to what I'm saying. But if you are and you do, then get real good at protection procedures and also being good about whose energy it is and what you're doing with it. It's very important.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. That is as they say that. But we were promised a bumper, so we are now going to bump. This one's silent. briefly that you can hang out in the foyer, having some tea, talking to folks. A lot of interesting people with weird stuff in their heads here, fun to talk to. And that's part of what we're about, is the community. So feel free to take part. Be the community. Furthermore, I would like to remind you that Alembic needs your money. We are a nonprofit, and takes quite a bit of that stuff to keep this place open every month, and we'd like to keep it open in the future. So if you can donate, it is a tax-deductible donation, and when you donate during my class, I don't take any salary, I don't take any cut. So it's effectively doubling your contribution to Alembic. So do it tonight and help us do what we do here. We do charge for the tickets, but notice if you can't pay for the ticket, we let you in anyway, because we want people to have access to meditation, even if it's even if normally you would have to pay, you don't have to. So that's our mission. It's part of our mission to put the stuff we're doing out there. And so if you can help us support that, please do. All right? That's the sales pitch. Let's go.